There's a big report, actually, in the Observer this week talking about the situation with the NXT UK contracts and something that really was inevitable from day one when this all got started, which is that WWE is no longer allowing its UK contracted talent as of January 1st to work for promotions that they are not currently partnered with. WWE has been forming partnerships with certain indie promotions in the UK and beyond, and they have been preparing for this day. Now, apparently the talents are being paid currently, their contracts, those UK deals, maybe not for the very, very top of what they would consider the top stars there, but the contracts have ranged from anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 a year, which is really nothing. But they were allowed to wrestle elsewhere to supplement that income. So they had this guaranteed, let's say, $25,000 salary coming in from WWE. In the meantime, they could still book their own shots and work, shows and other promotions however many times a week that they saw fit. So I'm sure they were still doing well, even though the money from WWE wasn't really that great. Now, many, not all of them, but many of them are going to be getting raises of how much I don't know. But with those raises come these new restrictions. And the lower level guys, I take it, who do not get raises can continue to work elsewhere. But this would not apply to probably a lot of the names that you're thinking of, like a Pete Dunne, or maybe a Wolfgang, or Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, people like that. Now, the report also says that the UK wrestling boom has cooled off quite a bit this year, business-wise. Not necessarily in terms of the talent that's being produced and all that, but just in terms of business. The thought was that the exposure on the WWE network for a lot of these UK stars would have led to greater recognition, to greater overall interest in seeing them. And apparently it's led to the exact opposite for a lot of these groups that operate out of the UK, just in terms of ticket sales. And ticket sales are really the lifeblood for a lot of these promotions. It's obviously a lifeblood for WWE as well, but they make so much money in so many other ways that it's actually not as much of a priority for WWE as it would have been when they were living and dying based off of ticket sales, let's say back when business was soft in the mid-90s. It would have meant a lot more to them if they were doing, thousands of dollars less in ticket sales than maybe it would today. Although you need to fill those seats up. People don't want to watch a TV show that has, half-empty stands. That's not a good look either. But a lot of these promotions, they live and die based on how many tickets they're able to sell. And apparently this year there was a big fall-off from the way things were last year. Now, I don't know that you can lay that all at WWE's feet. Overexposure was probably bound to happen no matter what. I remember many years ago reading that there was, for whatever reason, a big wrestling boom in Italy. And I still to this day don't know what to make of that. But there was a period of a few years where at least WWE, maybe not independent wrestling, but WWE was hot as shit over in Italy until it wasn't. One day it fizzled out, and I haven't heard about any sort of WWE boom in Italy now in many years. So there is something cyclical about it, I guess. There is, the risk of overexposure when you have so many different promotions. But I take it, though, that things have not played out the way that most people would have hoped that it would with this exposure from WWE. Pete Dunne, in response to these reports, he felt the need to sort of, I guess, defend WWE. He tweeted, "British wrestling is safe, will continue to grow. The talent pool is deep. Your favorite wrestlers are achieving goals and taking steps in their career. Don't believe everything you read. Brit wrestling is alive and well. Without the hard work of myself and countless other wrestlers with the goal of signing to a major company, there would be no thriving UK scene to begin with. Support independent wrestling and support independent wrestlers as they take the next steps in their career." For guys like Pete Dunne and Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, it's great because they're getting paid more and they're getting exposed to the WWE audience. Dunne is someone who could absolutely, I think, succeed on Raw or on SmackDown. Maybe not with the people currently running the show, but I think that the idea of Pete Dunne being on the main roster at some point, even though he's a smaller guy, he's a guy who I think could get over. I really think that he could be a star on Raw or SmackDown. Not 205 Live, not NXT or NXT UK. he could at some point, he's still young. There's still plenty of time. He's only 25. But he could get to that level where he could be a legit star on the Raw roster or on the SmackDown roster, if he was pushed and wasn't sabotaged by Vince McMahon. But like he said, they're achieving their goals, they're living their dream, and that's great for them. But it is going to hurt a lot of other promotions. That's just an unavoidable fact. He can talk about, hey, support British wrestling, and that's great. That's a great message to send. But there's going to be promotions that get hurt by this. Especially now, they're not allowed to use certain guys, where you can use them, but you can't, put them in the ring with somebody who's under contract to Impact or Ring of Honor or New Japan. All of a sudden, it makes it a lot more difficult for these promoters to book these guys on their shows. And look, it's going to hurt you if you don't get into bed with WWE. If you don't learn to kiss the ring, you are going to be hurt in some form or fashion. It's just the way it is. Now, what I found most fascinating in this report is this little nugget. Part of WWE's working agreements originally offered and agreed to. So this is for the promotions they're partnered with. Forget the ones that they're not partnered with. This is for the ones that they are partnered with. Part of the condition was that WWE would have the right for the next several years, if they chose, to purchase the companies for an agreed-upon price and then shut them down. So they would no longer compete, quote-unquote, with themselves, with the idea that that would only happen when they were at the point that they could run a full-time schedule themselves in those markets. Look, we knew this was going to happen. I said this on the show almost 4 years ago. There was a long-term vision here that Triple H had to effectively take over the independent scene. If there's one thing that WWE loves, it's to be in control. They need to be in control of everything. Look at the contracts that they have their talent sign, independent contractors. They are in full and total control over their own talent, supposed independent contractors. Give me a break. They have to be in control of everything at all times. Now we read about their plans every week, it seems. They want to recreate the territory system, but on a global scale. They want to open performance centers in different parts of the world. They want to open one in Germany, maybe the UK, maybe Saudi Arabia. They want to run or partner with someone to run for them their own local promotions, basically, in different parts of the world, like the UK. You need to play nice and play by their rules. Buying out companies only to eventually shut them down so they can run their own shows is exactly the sort of thing that you would expect them to do. And some of those top stars are going to benefit from it because they'll get paid very well. They may not have to travel all over the place as much. But for some of these smaller promotions, and for the fans who maybe would enjoy seeing some of these big, European indie stars wrestling other big stars from New Japan or AAA or other, companies, they lose out because that's just not going to be allowed anymore. Not if you're under contract to WWE, it's not. So there's pros and cons, as with everything. But if you thought that WWE was just going to sit back and enjoy peace and harmony with everyone and sing Kumbaya, well, I think most of you were smart enough to not actually think that was going to happen. But this is only the start of it. They're going to continue to expand. We may see some of those UK promotions even end up on the WWE Network next year if they move ahead with those premium tiers that they polled everybody on with those surveys. And that'll be good if you're Progress. That'll be good if you're ICW. For everybody else, maybe not so much. But right now, it's the UK. Soon, it's going to be Germany. Eventually, I guarantee you, it'll be Japan. It may be Mexico or Australia. 30 years ago, Vince McMahon wanted to take over the entire country. Now, Triple H wants to take over the world. There's a reason he calls all of his big shows takeover. He hasn't exactly been subtle about it.